Imagine at the age of 43 having to get out of bed to do a 6-kilometre postal route. And personally, being past that age, I know that feeling of the creaks of ageing joints in the morning. One day in April 1879, returning from his daily round, country postman Ferdinand Cheval stumbled upon a stone that was so unusual it reminded him of a dream sinking slowly into oblivion, a fairy tale palace beyond imagining. Cheval began to build his palace in 1879 using stones he gathered on his rounds with a trusty wheelbarrow and of course a little help from his first wife Rosaline. He mainly found inspiration in books he read, nature and the postcards he delivered. The buildings have carvings of various monuments, mythological figures and animals of the world, Hindu temples, Egyptian tombs, a medieval castle, a mosque, a Swiss chalet. Such are the creations that make up this palace. The walls are adorned with quotes and poems, one of which inspired the name of this exceptional work of art. And from Ferdinand Cheval's notebook in 1914, he's quoted, "In a dream I had built a palace, a castle or caves. I cannot express it well. I told no one about it for fear of being ridiculed, and I felt ridiculous myself. Then 15 years later, when I had almost forgotten my dream, and when I wasn't thinking of it at all, my foot reminded me of it. It's a sandstone shaped by water and hardened by the power of time. It represents a sculpture so strange that it is impossible for man to imitate. It represents any kind of animal. I said to myself, since nature is willing to do the sculpture, I will do the masonry and the architecture." Now, some mocked him, some criticised him. Oh, he's an old fool who fills his garden with stones. Cheval wasn't fazed by critics who deemed him crazy, though, and his palace continued to grow. On one of its walls, he embedded a plaque commemorating his mission. "With this rock, I wanted to prove what willpower can achieve." Night after night, over a period of 33 years, 10,000 days, and 93,000 hours on building his palace, and in 1912, the postman Cheval's ideal palace was finally completed after 33 years of hard work. So it's in this sleepy French town where the postman built his surrealist palace, and I can't even tell you how even more impressive and surreal in real life this place actually is. If I'm going to recommend one place to put on your travel list, pay homage to a humble postman who dared to make his dream a reality. I, for one, have never been anywhere like this in my life. Cheval completed his palace at the age of 76 and was then brave enough to spend another 8 years building his own equally unusual tomb in the cemetery of the village of Autorives. He died aged 88 and is buried there. So a little bit of background and a brief biography of Cheval's life. Ferdinand was brought up in a low-income agricultural family and started working as a baker's apprentice at the age of 13. At the age of 31, he switched to working as a rural postman. He wed Rosaline Revol, who he had 2 children with, and unfortunately, after an early death of Rosaline and one of his children, he then went on to marry Claire Flamine. And it was Claire who brought with her a dowry that included the land, which is where the ideal palace stands. A while later, Claire and Ferdinand's other son passed, and he was left with little more than his palace. Now, despite the locals thinking that Cheval was a crazy fool, north in Paris, the Surrealism movement was taking place, and there were whispers of this untrained artist's creation. Filmmakers started visiting, and in 1937, an up-and-coming artist by the name of Picasso visited and was inspired to create 12 sketches, one of these which referenced the nude women that Cheval sculpted into the Palais facade. The list of artists inspired by his work goes on and on. Just to say how amazing that he could build all this out of a dream, and was probably very little travelled because he was a postman. So where did he do his research? Here's John. Where did he do his research? It must have been based on books and local travel. So John's just made a good point. It's probably things he might have learnt in school, especially if he was a postman. He might have got. Did he send postcards in those days? Yeah, maybe. But it's completely surreal and like nothing I've ever seen in my life before.
It's incredible.
Yeah. In Cheval's memoir, he would call the rock he tripped on that fateful day in 1879 his stumbling block. It was an obstacle that would inspire the passionate creation of the world's singular Palais ideal. For those of you interested in taking your motorhome or camper van to visit the ideal palace, there is a mega aire. Now apparently there's supposed to be services, I couldn't actually find them. But anyway, next stop, we headed to Orange. So we've just met up with friends in Orange. It's not the best for Orange. It's not the best for motorhome parking, unfortunately. So we are going to have to. We've just been to see the theatre, the Roman theatre. Now we've not gone in because this morning we went to the ideal Palais, so we paid to go in there. John's right, we're not going to pay to go in everything. That was €13 a ticket to go in there. So we've got some nice views from around, and we're going to go...
Sorry, taking photos straight back.
Oh, he's a comedy genius. I told you, go get your own channel.
What's the call?
Comedy John. Anyway, so we're going to find the Arc de Triomphe. And that is the Arc de Triomphe of Orange. But more importantly, there's a car park there with motorhomes in it that we are not in. We're about a mile away in a very, very tight camping spot, parking spot actually. And there is a man who's happy because he's got an old thing to take photos of that isn't himself. I reckon I can drink it. I mean, it does look clean. It's just next to all the rubbish. I bet you can fill your glass water up if you've got a bottle. I think it helps that we've picked such a good day for the weather as well. Hello, I'm Jo. Now, it's been a tough few years for us all. But throw in my rapidly depleting hormones and you'll soon realise why John packs me off most weekends with a bottle of wine and sends me on my way. But apart from that, I'll take you on lots of adventures and journeys around the UK and Europe. So to join me in the future, remember to hit that subscribe button.